Hi everybody, it's Joseph Ramirez here, aka 100 Dalmathan. In my video, I want to talk about something different. In this video, I want to talk about the Voice-of-the-Martyrs organization, which is based here in the United States in Oklahoma. Voice-of-the-Martyrs is an organization I really appreciate. I get their magazines, and they focus on Christian persecution around the world and want to get more attention to it, and they try to seek to help persecuted Christians abroad, to help give them resources and support. But with great sadness, I learned yesterday of some really major scandals that have happened, and for some people it's old news, but for me it's new news. And that involves things such as the suicide of their longtime executive director, Tom White, 8 years ago, and subsequent cover-ups and other scandals. And it really saddens me to learn these things. The only reason I'm even making a video on this is no one else has made a video on it. There's plenty of articles about the subject, about the suicide of Tom White, and the son of the Voice of the Martyrs founders, Michael Warmbrand, wrote an open letter all about this stuff, but there's no video on it. So I want to take the time to make a video on it to educate more people who follow Voice of the Martyrs but are unaware of all this. And so let's get to it. So let's start from the very beginning of what is Voice of the Martyrs. The Voice of the Martyrs organization is a non-profit international organization, but the main headquarters is in the United States in Oklahoma. Voice of the Martyrs was founded in 1967 by a Romanian priest named Richard Warmbrand. Richard Warmbrand was tortured for over 14 years in communist Romania for speaking out against communism in 1948, and he was tortured for being a Christian and for being outspoken by the communist authorities. Eventually, some people from the West paid a bunch of money for his release, basically bribed the communist authorities in Romania to let him go. He came to the United States in the 1960s, and after his experiences, he wanted to have more of a voice for the persecuted church all over the world, especially in communist Eastern Europe at the time. So he founded Voice of the Martyrs in 1967. So Richard Warmbrand retired from Voice of the Martyrs in 1992, and then he died in 2001 at the age of 91 years old. And that's the beginning of the background of the VOM organization. So in 1992, when Richard Warmbrand, the founder, retired, one of their evangelists named Tom White took over as executive director in 1992. Now, Tom White was the executive director of Voice of the Martyrs from 1992 until he committed suicide in the year 2012. Tom White committed suicide because he was being accused of sexually molesting a 10-year-old girl. So Tom White was about 65 years old at the time when he committed suicide, and what happened was the parents of a 10-year-old girl in Bartersville, Oklahoma, which is where Voice of the Martyrs is headquartered, filed a charge with the police that Tom White had sexually molested their 10-year-old daughter. And so the police were coming out to investigate Tom White, and he committed suicide by poisoning himself. And after that, the investigations stopped, and it was a huge shock to the entire organization and their followers. And so the son of the Voice of the Martyrs founders, named Michael Warmbrand, who is based in Torrance, California, who was still working with the organization at the time, wanted there to be a proper investigation into Tom White, including his overseas trips, because they wanted to make sure that there weren't other accusations and other children that could have been possibly been molested by the director, Tom White. However, the rest of the Voice of the Martyrs board did not want to do that, and they fired Michael Warmbrand for trying to do that in 2014. And in an open letter that I read from Michael Warmbrand, he said that Voice of the Martyrs tried to pay him hush money to be quiet about it and to not do anything that would badmouth the organization or Tom White. And that's just really sketchy. I'm really disappointed to learn all this happened at Voice of the Martyrs, and that there was cover-ups, effectively, to try to cover up the possibility that the director may have been a pedophile and a child molester. Mostly everyone wanted to remember Tom White for his evangelism efforts, such as going to Cuba in 1979 and dropping Bibles on the island to try to circumvent the ban on Bibles in Cuba. I read that once his plane crashed in Cuba in 1979, and he was actually jailed in Cuba for several months until 1980. And then I also read stories that Tom White went on to Iraq in 2003 after the U.S. invasion to distribute biblical literature to the Iraqi people and do evangelism work that year in Iraq and other things. It's really tragic, though, to see that in the end how he ended his life with suicide to escape an investigation into him of possibly molesting a 10-year-old girl. And then another major scandal involving Voice of the Martyrs is their affiliate in Nigeria. Voice of the Martyrs in Nigeria was exposed in a massive scandal in the year 2016 involving the director of that branch, Reverend Isaac Newton Wusu, the Nigerian reverend who was leading the affiliate of Voice of Martyrs in Nigeria. Many accusations have been made against him with witnesses that he took part in rapes, sexual molestation of orphans, and raping women and also other members of his staff. A church eventually went to investigate these things in 2016, and there's a video of it on Vimeo called, I think, Persecuting the Persecuted, where several people in Nigeria who were part of the organization witnessed some of these sexual assaults, and that this pastor, Reverend Isaac Newton Wusu, even forced some women to get abortions to cover it up. Voice of the Martyrs claimed that the organization was autonomous and not directly linked to Voice of Martyrs, but Voice of Martyrs USA did regularly fund the orphanages and other programs of the affiliate in Nigeria. And this is really disheartening, seeing that Voice of the Martyrs USA for a long time was seriously not investigating what was going on with their branch in Nigeria. In the meantime, Michael Warmbrand has asked that Voice of Martyrs no longer use their family name and photos of Richard Warmbrand anymore. He does not want their family name associated any longer with some of these horrible scandals that have happened with the Voice of Martyrs organization. He's also asked people to no longer donate money anymore to Voice of Martyrs. One of his also complaints was that in recent years, that Voice of the Martyrs in Oklahoma spent $28 million to upgrade their facilities to have a new building from a warehouse to a $28 million building, and said that that's highly inappropriate to use donation money from people to upgrade their own facilities in the United States when it needs to be going to persecuted Christians abroad. So what I want to close with I still appreciate the magazines and a lot of the work they do, but Voice of Martyrs at the very top leadership does need to clean house. They need to resolve a lot of these scandals. They should not be covering it up. That is not biblical, and it's very sinful, and it discredits the organization. I think they need to respect Michael Warmbrand's wishes. I agree with Michael Warmbrand, what he is saying, and that the VOM board of directors, they need to repent. I hope they do. I hope everyone learned a lot from this video. My video was not meant to be slander. It was meant to expose this, but it's not meant to be slander. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you.